Hello, 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 beautiful people. It is great to be back with you. I am Leah Murphy, and I am thrilled for the opportunity to reconnect with you on this series, Top Things to Unlearn for a Thriving Career. This is part 3 of the series, and I need someone to let me know in the comments if I should do a part 4 or if we should round it up today. So I need your feedback. Please do take advantage and please do take advantage of the opportunity to let me know in the comments so that I can figure out what makes the most sense. Do you guys want me to continue and keep going, or are you thinking, all right, let's wrap it up and let's talk about something new? And the reason is there's lots of amazing content that is coming. And then there is also an opportunity for us to continue this series, right? So we've gotten a little bit of feedback from folks, and now we're trying to figure out what the next phase will look like. So we are making sure to hear from you. If you are available and you are joining us live here, we are streaming on a couple of platforms. So want to make sure that we get an opportunity to check in with you, to tap in, to see how folks are doing, see how folks are receiving the content. So if you're here, please do drop your name and city in the chat. If you're not logged in on your home device, your name and city. If you are logged in, please go ahead and just drop your city in the chat so that I can know who's engaging, who's with us, and who is down for this content that we are dishing out here. So I wanted to first just remind us of what we talked about last week. Last week, we talked about part 2 of the top things to unlearn for a thriving career. In part 2, we closed out on, we did 2 introductions here. We needed to unlearn that your career is influenced by you only. We needed to unlearn that. It's just not true. Your career is influenced by a number of other people and very important variables. And one of those variables include timing. And then the second one that we kicked off last week was your career ambitions and personal ambitions are separate. Keep the 2 things separate, and that's a way to be able to strategize and plan your life. We need to unlearn that. We really need to unlearn that because there is a consistent need to make sure that one is supporting the other, one is making appropriate space for the other, and that you have the ability to be really thoughtful in the choices that you're making in your career so that it enables and supports the personal life that you want for yourself. So that's what we closed out on last week. So now we're going to introduce. This one is a hot take. This one's going to feel a little bit spicy. So I definitely want to hear folks' opinion and feedback on this. But this has been proven for me and for my clients time and time again. And it's something that folks don't like to hear. But the fact of the matter is it's true. So I just want folks to unlearn it now. Let's just make peace with it. Let's do the work so that we can make peace with unlearning it. And then we can progress and create real strategies that are going to help to drive us forward. And that is meritocracy and fairness in the workplace is the standard. I need us to unlearn that. Meritocracy and fairness in the workplace is the standard. We have to unlearn it. And the reason why we have to unlearn that is because there will be favorites. There will be back channels. There will be special treatments. That is just a part of human existence. So I want to make sure that we think about it as I understand these things will exist. So how do I design my own career and how do I move such that my intentions will allow me to achieve the outcome that I'm looking for? If we assume that the back channels and the favoritism, the special treatment is going to happen, then when it comes, we're not overwhelmed or frustrated or, ready to throw in the towel. We're just confirming, okay, we knew that was coming. It's all kind of a part of the deal. How do I move forward strategically? Sometimes that means there's strategic ways you can move forward in your own organization and ways that you can become someone who is communicated as high potential, special talent, a favorite, right? Maybe that could be you. Strategically, there is an opportunity to be able to do that. But there's also times where it's not going to be you and you have to figure out what makes the most sense. And sometimes that means you might need to leave and go to another organization. It might be time to transition because you don't see this organization as one that's going to be able to move you forward, or you don't see this organization as viewing you as an asset that they want to retain, promote, and give broader opportunities to. So it hurts to hear. Sometimes it can feel really uncomfortable and can be really frustrating, especially if you've been in an organization for a long period of time. But it happens. It happens very, very often. So the part that I want to make sure that we think about is let's unlearn that it's not going to happen. And we kind of preach this concept of meritocracy and fairness. It just doesn't exist. So as we think about how to strategically move ourselves forward, it also has to be inclusive of relationships that we need to build inside of our organization and relationships that we need to build outside of our organization, personal branding that we need to make sure that we double down on. Competencies and relationships and network that we have inside of our organization and outside of our organization. Because that's really the way to navigate as an individual contributor, a leader of people who also wants to make sure that you meet your career aspirations. We really have to unlearn that we're going to be able to meet all our career aspirations in one organization. I had a client that was really clear that he wanted to be a CEO. He was 100% confident. This is what I want to do. This is the direction that I want to go. And the organization that he was in made it clear that someone else was next in line to be the CEO. So once he decided, okay, I'm not going to meet my career aspirations here in the timeline that I desire, now I had to strategically think about where else I want to go in order to accomplish that same goal. And the organizations were fine, right? The organization he left was fine, and the new place he went, he had the opportunity to be a CEO in that organization, but it only came with making peace with meritocracy sometimes doesn't align. There are other factors at play outside of your own individual performance or your own personal goals. That's a hot take that feels a little bit spicy, so I'm not going to pile on too much for that one. I definitely want folks to feel like they get a time to digest that because it's something that we all already know. Right? We know it intrinsically, but sometimes we just got to hear it and build it into the plan. So meritocracy and fairness in the workplace is a farce when it comes to promotion and accelerating talent. Now, we can get deeper into other areas of meritocracy and perceptions, but that's not what we're here for today. That's for another conversation. So we'll pick that up somewhere else, maybe. But I wanted to move on to the next one. And the next one is keeping your head down and doing your work is enough to grow your career. And when I say keeping your head down, I mean focusing on the day-to-day, the tactics, the basic blocking and tackling in order to meet your objectives. And doing that consistently year over year is enough for you to grow in your career. Doing basic blocking and tackling, doing your work, meeting your objectives, showing up on time, having decent levels of communication with your manager and your peers. It's just a base foundation. It's just the standard expectation. And if you keep your head down and don't talk about your performance, don't talk about your career ambitions, don't build relationships with other people in the organization, it's very difficult for you to be able to grow your career. Now, if you're comfortable where you are and you would like to maintain the status quo, then doing basic blocking and tackling might be able to get you to do that. So it really depends on you, right? It depends on what you want. If you're looking to grow your career, if you have aspirations to be at the next level in your organization, then keeping your head down and doing basic blocking and tackling isn't going to get you there. So I want us to unlearn that meeting our objectives will get us promoted. It's just not so. You must meet your objectives, and you must have additional visibility opportunities, and you must over deliver against certain things in order for you to grow your career. That requires more of a strategic thought process and relationships with others. So you're getting good feedback and you know what it takes to be perceived at the next level in the organization that you're in. So if you don't know what it takes to be perceived at the next level, it's very hard for you to demonstrate that. So the way you know is to have the right conversations with your manager, with your manager's manager, with maybe even a leader above that, with someone who's previously been a manager in the department or function that you want to get into. Now you're thinking about, how do I get there? And I actually have a guide on careergemsforthejourney.org, which kind of outlines this. It's a really great resource, and I want to make sure that I put up the banner here so that you all have the opportunity to join us on careergemsforthejourney.org. So it's at gemsforthejourney.org. And then if you do /promo gems, you will begin to get some of these resources that are available in the Career Tools Guide at gemsforthejourney.org. I want to make sure that folks listen to this content here and also have the ability to use the worksheets, use the tools and resources that we're providing on gemsforthejourney.org, because that combination is really impactful. Not only are you hearing it, but then you can go back, you have a document that you can be able to read, take notes on, use as a tool to have conversations with people in your organization as you look to aspire your career, to aspire to higher heights in your career. So please do take advantage of it. Gemsforthejourney.org /promo gems is how you get on our mailing list. That's how you get this amazing content delivered right to your inbox. You can also go on gemsforthejourney.org under the Career Tools tab, and there's a Career Tools tab for quite a few really amazing resources. I won't list them all out because it'll exhaust us here, but go ahead and take advantage. Head over to gemsforthejourney.org in order to click on our Career Tools tab, and then you'll find really great information that kind of covers and helps you walk through some of the career aspirations that a lot of folks have, and it gives you resources on how to go about them, how to plan out those conversations. So I'm going to keep going. Right. This is a meaty one today. I've been managing my time. I told you all that I want to make sure that I'm thoughtful and that this content is digestible, but I think you're ready, right? I think I whet your appetite enough in the previous time together. So now is our opportunity to really build upon it. So the next one is perfection is not the objective. Ooh, perfection is not the objective. I'm going to have to come back to this. I know I am, because so many of us are either current perfectionists or recovering perfectionists, where we love to have things that look exactly the way we want them to look. And we love to take all the time possible to comb through tedious amounts of information and data. And we want to interview people, and we want to bring in all of this really substantive content that we think is really important. And when we do that, and we have the time to do that, we know that we can produce an exceptional product that could be perfect. The concern is, right, I really have to let folks unlearn that. So I know it's going to take us a second to digest. Perfection requires a lot of time, often, a lot of energy, a lot of effort. Sometimes that's effort from other people. That's not just you. So when we are having these conversations for career, the idea is, what is the objective that we need to meet? And what is the timeline that we have to deliver that objective within? So oftentimes, in order to get this to the level of perfect that some of us who are perfectionists, and myself as a recovering perfectionist, I say us because we are united together in that. I support you. I see you. But perfection oftentimes doesn't allow us to meet the deadlines that are critical and important. And it doesn't allow an opportunity for other stakeholders to provide feedback and to contribute at a high level. And that's normally the key to collaboration and getting ideas or getting work over the hump, is that other people have also bought into it because they have a direct connection to the work. Their feedback has been integrated, their perceptions, their thoughts. That's when I see most successful outcomes, when you've aligned with a leader, you've aligned with a collaborator, you've aligned with a cross-functional teammate, and together you were able to collaborate to get to an outcome that feels great 80 for the 20, right? So not perfection, not 100%. 80 for the 20 feels great, and it was delivered on time, will get you more support, more accolades, more acknowledgement than delivering something that is absolutely perfect after the deadline, but no one else had to collaborate on it. Even if you deliver it on the deadline, right? Which is possible. Some of the perfectionists are probably saying, I can get the deadline. That's not the problem. But if no one else has contributed to it, then it makes it very, very hard. Very, very hard to get people to buy in and for them to feel invested to get your ideas over the hump. So it is, CBN is joining us on the chat here, and CBN has said meritocracy does exist and plays a role in gaining sponsorship. He also said he's an actively recovering perfectionist. So CBN, we're in the same group here, right? You and I understand that there is a place for it, and sometimes it's not a place in corporate America. There's no place for it in the workplace. So I like your hot take on meritocracy does exist and plays a role in gaining sponsorship. But I think meritocracy generally, and people thinking I will get promoted when it's my time, or it's only fair for me to be the next in line for this great opportunity, I think that gets people caught up a lot of times. And because people get distracted or get frustrated by the meritocracy that they perceive that they're next in line for, it makes it very difficult for folks to kind of get past that and strategically think about how to build a relationship and what should be next for them. So that ends up being a real significant challenge. So if we can think about meritocracy as something that may exist in certain circumstances in corporate America, but you can't rely on it, right? It's one of those things like, you may go to the outlets, right? For those of us who are shoppers, and again, raising my hand, we'll be fully transparent. For those of us who enjoy, a good deal or a good shopping experience, you go to the outlets, you may find something amazing, you may not, right? It's a 50-50 chance. You go, maybe you have a great experience, it's a nice day, you walk around, nothing lost because you enjoyed the experience. However, if you're going knowing that you need one thing that's very specific, you might be in trouble because you might leave there empty-handed, and now you got to figure out what your plan is, right? That's the way I think about meritocracy. In certain functions, in certain departments, it may be available, and you may have a leader that is hard bent on it and make sure to keep that level of equity, but you may not, right? So I want you to have a strategy that assesses for both. That meritocracy may exist and the right things are going to happen at the right time, but that also, if it does not exist, you have a strategy to approach, and you also have a strategy to exit if you feel like you're not getting what you need at that time in the organization. So Benita Maxey has also joined us. Welcome, Benita. Great to have you. Excited to have you here. So then my last one, and this one is another hot take. It's spicy today. It's really, really spicy today. So I would love to hear from folks and their perception of this content, and drop a line in the comments, drop a line if you're watching this on the replay. Please do take advantage of an opportunity to really engage with us in this content, myself and my team who are manning the chat. There's a real opportunity to make sure that this feels like it's an interactive and you have specific needs that you want to get met in joining us and listening to this content. So I want you to take full advantage of it. And here's the thing that I want to unlearn, and it's the closer. So I saved the best for last. My manager should have known. ... Fill in the blank for whatever else it is. My manager should have known ... I hear this phrase more than I can count when people are feeling some level of frustration or tension in their organization, and they are wanting to have the right advocacy at the manager level. And they assume, and here's where we go wrong, they assume that their manager has information or understands their perspective. Your manager should have known is fine to say, right? But ultimately, it is not something that they can be held accountable for. If they should know, then that means you've told them directly, you've communicated it to them in more than one way, in person, in writing, in via email, in a project update, also in a performance review discussion. There should be layers to you assuming that your manager knows is the dangerous part. You layering in your communication such that they do know, and for a fact that they know, is a completely different way to approach it. Managers are busy. They have their own priorities. They have their own objectives. They have their own things happening. They're human. Some managers are great and they're going to nail it, most of the time. Some managers are not. Ultimately, if the responsibility is yours to make sure they're accurately informed. And let me take it a step further. Another hot take, another layer in on this. My manager should have known ... because it's loaded, very loaded. If you're relying on just your manager as the person who can convey this information and no one else has it, So it's you and your manager. You're the only two people in the organization who have this information. You're doing yourself a disservice. It is an unfortunate fact that we have to make sure that we're layering on the communication to cross-functional partners, to peers, to team members, to your manager's manager, to other stakeholders who are in the organization. If it's important information and it needs to be known, if it's about your compensation or your promotion or about critical works or projects that you're doing or aspirations that you have to continue to grow your career, you should know it, your manager should know it, and some other people should know it. We need to make sure that we're accountable to layer on our communication in writing and in person. Those aspirations are yours, and you want your manager to be an advocate for you in all situations. But we all know, because we've lived it, that that doesn't always happen. So if we know that it doesn't always happen, then what should we do with that information? If we can hold ourselves to the standard where I want to make sure I am my own best advocate, I am ultimately responsible for making sure that my career and my relationships in the organization move in the direction that I think that they should move, and that happens with intention, then your manager is just a part of your strategy of getting that information into the hands of the right people. One part of the strategy. You're a part of the strategy. Your manager is, cross-functional team members, stakeholders, leaders in your organization, mentors, sponsors. You get my drift? I want to make sure that if people take the responsibility from their manager as far as navigating and strategizing their career, they have to be a part of the plan. They cannot be the whole plan. And the caveat is, your ability to grow in your organization is a direct correlation to your manager's perception of you. It's very hard to grow in an organization if your manager isn't supportive of your growth. So that we're going to have to go into in another one. That's a hot take, but I wanted to make sure that I made the connection for folks, because you do need to have their support. You do need to have them on board. They need to be team you, right? They need to wear your shirt. They need to feel good about the value that you bring to the organization, but they can't be the only one. They have to be a part of the strategy. And when you get to work with folks like me as a career coach, or you get to work with others who are in the space, you can understand that there has to be a broad strategy in order for you to grow in your career. So I want us to unlearn. My manager should have known ... Unlearn it. Either they know for sure because you've given them information in many different forms on a consistent basis, and you guys are aligned and on the same page. And you also have communicated that information to others in your organization that can advocate for you, that can be sponsors and mentors for you, or those that can just, vouch for you, acknowledge the work that you've done. Cross-functional partner that can say, oh yeah, I had an amazing time working directly with Benita. Benita and I, we crushed it together. It was dope. There's no question about it. She absolutely should be the person that gets the opportunity for whatever it is, even if it's casual and in passing. And then you can do that for other people. That's the other thing that I find to be so enriching when you work in an environment that has a really healthy culture. You can also give credit to others when credit is due. That helps them to get the right level of visibility and acknowledgement. It also shows you as someone who understands the value of collaboration and cross-functional partnership. That's a way to really stand out amongst your peers. If you're the one who's making sure that credit is distributed to the right people, including yourself, don't leave yourself out when you're giving shout outs. But if you can make sure to shout out your teammates, shout out your cross-functional partners, your collaborators, anybody who's also a stakeholder, and how they helped to advance the work, that's a way to really stand out and make a differential impact in your organization and in the lives and in the careers of people around you. And then you can create this virtuous cycle where other people are giving you a shout out because you're doing great work and you're doing the same. And then that becomes a culture that people want to work in, right? It becomes you become a leader that people want to work for. So I'm going to read this last comment here around CBN says, assuming your manager should have known without holding us ourselves accountable to make sure they're informed consistently is imposing a false expectation. Ooh, that is so true. It is imposing a false expectation, and it's a trap. It is such a trap. So the reason why I want to make sure that we unlearn some of these things is we're giving out really great substantive recommendations, content, strategies, gems, right? Gems to make sure that you're building upon what you have now and you want to go forward. But it takes some unlearning. There's some behaviors, some ideas that may have, gotten seeded in, maybe in a different generation or maybe in a different organization or for whatever reason. But if we can unlearn these things and do the work to remove these ideas and replace them with new ones that are substantive and going to help us grow, the impact that will have on your career is tremendous, tremendous. So I'm going to do a quick recap. Number one, first thing to unlearn for today is meritocracy and fairness in the workplace is hard to come by. It's inconsistent. You have to have a strategy just in case meritocracy doesn't exist. So that's something I want us to unlearn. The next one is keeping your head down and doing good work will grow your career. I want you to unlearn it. Keeping your head down and doing good work will maintain the status quo. It might keep you in the role that you're in now, but it certainly won't allow you to grow and have aspirations outside of your current organization. If you're looking to grow, we're going to have to do more than keep our head down and deliver against the work. We need a strategy in order to do that, right? And that's where we're here to help you create here at Career Gems for the Journey. And then the next one was perfection is the objective. We need to unlearn that. Perfection is not the objective. Perfection can get you caught up. It can take away valuable time. It can remove opportunities for collaboration and others to be fully invested. So I want to make sure we think about strategically, what are we trying to accomplish with our work? We're trying to accomplish some things that are going to allow us to grow, allow us to have the right visibility, allow us to learn. Recovering perfectionists, I know maybe you're, shaking a little bit. Hands are getting a little bit quaky in hearing that, but it's important that we unlearn perfection is the goal, especially as we aspire to higher levels in the organization, because we have to remove our hands from the work sometimes. Most times, I should say. And then the last one today, which is the spiciest of all takes, is my manager should have known, ... Fill in the blank to whatever it was they should have known. Assuming that your manager has any information that you haven't personally provided to them consistently in writing, in person, verbally, via a Zoom meeting, all of the layers, it's a setup. It's a setup, and I want more for you. I want more for you. So don't fall into the trap of a setup. My manager should have known ... There's an opportunity for you to strategically communicate with your manager and others so that your manager is one part of your career aspiration strategy. And there are several other people who can also acknowledge and vouch and are willing to speak on your behalf because they've seen the work that you've done. They're sponsoring you, they're mentoring you. So next week, I'm going to go through the entire list. We're going to knock out all 8 of the things to unlearn. We're going to have a visual with the 8 things to unlearn. So make sure that you join us so that you can take that away. Let me know in the comments if you want this to be a guide, if you want this to all be invested into a document so you have one place to be able to resource the things that you should unlearn in order to build a thriving career. Drop a note in the comments or leave me a DM. I really want to hear from you. If I get enough people who are interested in having it as a guide, we will put it on the Career Gems for the Journey guide in the career tools section. But I need you guys to let me know that that's what you're looking for, and I will make it happen. If nobody wants it, then we won't create it and we'll focus on some other things. So this has been amazing. It's been great to be with you today. Please do join our mailing list at gemsforthejourney.org/promogems. This way you will be getting exclusive content directly into your inbox that you can take advantage of and fully leverage. Would love to have more of you there. We already have folks on the mailing list who are getting exclusive content, and the feedback has been amazing. We will not spam you. We want to make sure that you want this content, and then we want to provide it for you. So I appreciate all of you being here today. Continue to make sure you take full advantage of joining us at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time every Tuesday morning as we drop Career Gems for your journey.